The Trump administration is getting its butt absolutely kicked on this issue. And they have got to wise up when it comes to explaining what exactly it is they're doing. 6:04 on a Wednesday. Great to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. So more ICE controversy in the Kansas City area has led to this conversation over in Lawrence. So, yes, sanctuary city of Lawrence had ICE in it yesterday. Well, I mean, when you're a sanctuary city, you're kind of like, hey, I'm over here. Come on over. I'm right here. Yeah. I mean, we might have some people who, shouldn't be here in our town. You're kind of asking for ICE to eventually get to you. So that's what happened yesterday in Lawrence. And because you have all these vigilantes now out there and, thinking that they're going to save the world, there are people now very emboldened with their phones tracking ICE. There's a whole website. I didn't realize this, but there's a website where you can post if you have seen ICE where they are anywhere in the country. It's iceinmyarea.org. So people are doing this all over America. It was happening yesterday in Lawrence as ICE was making an arrest. So this lady who's been on multiple local news stations now since last night says that she said she was assaulted by ICE. Now, she says she has a sore wrist. There's cell phone video that she has shared with local media. I have some of that for you, and I'll play it here momentarily. But one thing that no one in local media did, and I'm trying to get an answer to this morning, who did they arrest? Doesn't that matter? And that's where the Trump administration is losing the narrative here. Local media runs this story saying ICE is in Lawrence yesterday. This lady, puts up this video on social media. It goes viral. It gets picked up by local news. She claims she got assaulted by an ICE agent. And then the local media says, yeah, ICE in Lawrence. Woman claims she was assaulted. Here's the cell phone video. But nobody has any information on who was arrested and why they were arrested. And first off, I know that they've reached out to ICE, and ICE can't track when you're arresting thousands of people potentially a day. It's hard to keep track of who's who. I can somewhat understand that. But what the administration has to wake up to is that they're losing the plot here. They are oftentimes arresting people who have violent criminal records in this country, who have done some allegedly really bad things. So tell us that. Go out there and try to win the public media battle that's going on right now. Because instead, all you get is nothing from ICE at all, nothing from DHS. You have these people out there with their cell phone cameras doing whatever they want, saying, look at the poor immigrant being arrested. But we don't even know who those people are and what they might have done. We have no idea. And they have got to wake up to realize that. Here's what it sounded like on Channel 9 last night.
Alicia Kenyuan was driving down Iowa Street in Lawrence Tuesday morning when she spotted an ICE operation in the Burger King parking lot.
And I was just going to drive by and report it to the local organizations that were asking for information like that, like if we spot ICE.
She says she was not near the operation when she started filming on her phone.
All of a sudden, I'm walking over here, and he pulls right in front of me.
Get all the way back.
How far back?
That far. That's
okay.
Perfect. Don't get back.
I gotta get back to my car. I gotta get back to my car. I gotta get back to my car.
Get back now. Get back. I'm not gonna tell you again.
Like, this is a grown man literally jumping all his weight on me. I'm already away from you people. I'm trying to stay away from you people. I've seen videos of you guys murdering people. These are just thoughts in my head. I'm trying to stay safe. I got a child to go home to.
Alicia says part of her arm and hand are still hurting after the incident.
Even right now while I'm standing here with you guys, my hand is still numb.
She thinks Lawrence is an easy target for immigration officers.
I think we're a target because this is a sanctuary city. It's something that Lawrence stands on as a community, that this is a safe place for people that maybe they're escaping asylum, some kind of safety, or just to work.
There's so much there to digest. I mean, I don't even know where to start, but here's where I'll start. Clearly, you have a radical activist on your hands there in Lawrence. And listen, she's not alone. She's a dime a dozen in Lawrence, Kansas. All right? I mean, when she's out there saying, I've seen you guys murder people. Okay, that tells me all I need to know about where this person's coming from and what their goals are and what they believe they're up against, air quotes, with ICE. She says, we're a sanctuary city. We're safe. We stand on our beliefs and our values. Okay, so are you telling me if ICE was arresting someone yesterday at this Burger King, which I don't know exactly, I guess it was on Iowa Street, what the crossroad is on this Burger King in Lawrence, are you telling me if that person had a violent background, you'd want them to roam around the streets of Lawrence? Is that what you're telling me? Because that's the interpretation of what I got. And that's where if DHS was able to take the information on who's getting arrested and give it to local media, they would put all this stuff to bed. But instead, all you get are these people with cell phones following tracking ICE, wanting to go viral, wanting to get themselves on local or national news, seemingly virtuous in what they're attempting to do. And you got nothing on the other side of the story here. Nothing whatsoever. And Channel 9 can put out a post saying, hey, we reached out to ICE and we haven't heard back yet. No comment. And then it's on to the next one. And that's where DHS and this administration is completely losing it. Like, I can sit here and say ICE is doing the right thing. And I believe that they are by and large. They're cleaning up the mess of the last guy. Okay? This is important work that needs to be done. Has every ICE encounter gone perfectly? No, it hasn't. That's a very fair critique to have. The Preddy thing in Minneapolis, which was Border Patrol, not ICE, but obviously that was a major setback, and that was a bad situation. But when you've got hundreds of these encounters potentially happening on a daily basis, overall, they've gone very well. But this ICE agent who's out there, saying to this lady, get back, get back, get back. Remember, these guys have a job to do, and now they're getting tracked by random citizens. And I'm not saying you don't have a right to use your cell phone to, take a photo or video of something that you think might be injustice. But these guys have stress levels that are incredibly high right now as well, because they've got half the country who wants to potentially see them fail. Now, Mark, you believe that guy, that cop in the video from Lawrence yesterday, is the same guy who was in Olathe over the weekend?
I believe I've seen still shot photos of him at that parking lot in Olathe, and also in that video, it looks like the same guy.
Okay.
Big beard. He's pretty recognizable.
Yeah, I would say so. So what does that tell you then? What that tells me is that around Kansas City, in a metro of 2.5 million people, what that tells me is that you actually have a very small operation around Kansas City. That's my read on it. It's not a big operation here. If the same guy in Olathe is in Lawrence a couple of days later, there's not hundreds of ICE agents swarming around Kansas City. You got a pretty small crew here. But right now, this is a PR battle that I believe the Trump administration is losing, and there is no reason for them to be losing it if they just have the transparency that it's very easy to have. When you're arresting somebody, whether it's at the local or federal level, obviously you know what you're arresting them for. It's put into some database somewhere. Release it and get it out. That's all that needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Marco Rubio needs something to do. He could help us out, sort the list out, right?
Well, I think Marco might be also trying to be a relief pitcher for the Royals this season, so he might be a little busy. That guy's plate is full. But you know what? I get Christy Nome on it, all right?
Somebody's
put her to work.
Gotta step up.
Someone's got to step up here. Get Christy on the paperwork, okay? She should have some extra time on her hands now since she got taken off the streets of Minneapolis. Man, I'm going to text the communications people I know again this morning with the administration. They haven't told me what happened on Olathe yet. I followed up with them 3 times. Guys, you got to give me something here. And I don't mean me because of me. I mean me so you can help yourselves. That's what it's really about. helping themselves in all this. 913-408-7957 on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. What do we know about the guy who was arrested yesterday following the Kansas City nightclub shooting over the weekend? Well, we know, as is par for the course, he was somebody with a criminal background. What was it? We'll tell you about it next here on KCMO. Well, the news broke here on KCMO yesterday. Stacey Graves, the police chief, announced on this show that they had a suspect in custody following the nightclub shooting in Kansas City early on Sunday morning, just off Southwest Boulevard and 28th Street. And we got some information as to who that person was. Dante M. Brooks, taken into custody on Monday, who now is facing 2 counts of second-degree murder. Melissa Johnson is the Jackson County prosecutor. She's going to join us this morning at 7:30 here on KCMO Talk Radio. He's been charged with 4 counts of armed criminal action, 1 count of first-degree assault, and 2 weapons crimes as well. And this is in the death of 29-year-old Ebony Silas and 24-year-old Tashana Ballard, who were inside the club at the time of the shooting. 2 others were injured in the early Sunday shooting, including a man who was shot in the face and the chest and is currently hospitalized and in stable condition. So this guy, though, I mean, he was known to authorities. He had spent time in prison. And here's the report on this guy's background, Dante M. Brooks from KCTV5.
Here's what we know about his federal case in the District of Kansas. In 2019, Dante Brooks was indicted on drug and firearm charges. These include possession with intent to distribute cocaine base and marijuana, and possession of a firearm in furtherance of drug trafficking. He eventually pled guilty and was sentenced to 5 years in prison and 3 years of supervised release. This past August, the court modified his supervision due to repeated failed drug tests and missing tests. He is a convicted felon as a result of this case, and since he is considered a felon, this could mean he could face harsher penalties as he was not supposed to have a firearm by Missouri law.
It's amazing. Criminals don't abide by our laws. I know, it's like...
Talk about a bombshell.
You can't believe it, right? Just absolutely stunning. Now, I hope this guy goes away for a long time. 2 counts of second-degree murder, obviously, should put him in the can for a very long time, as far as I'm concerned. But at first, I wanted to find something on the Kansas side of the state line that was a soft-on-crime approach in all of this, and I don't see it. I'm not hearing it there on that clip from KCTV5. And the guy did his time, spent time in prison. After that, obviously, there were things that he had to do, and he did not do them. Went back out there and committed, obviously, 2 alleged murders here over the weekend. So you got a bad guy doing bad stuff. And you know how they caught him? They caught him because his baseball hat fell off amidst all the chaos at the shooting on Sunday morning. And they were able to track him down through DNA to the other side of the state line because of the ball cap that was on the floor in the club. He didn't pick up his hat. So this guy's
pick up your hat.
This guy's not a good criminal. I mean, besides the fact that he's now an alleged murderer, he's an awful criminal. And Mark, as someone who always wears a hat, Mark knows you always pick up the hat.
Yeah, if you drop the hat, you got to pick it up.
I mean, that is just dude,
common courtesy.
What did you think was going to happen? The fact that this guy was dumb enough to leave his hat at the club and then not even flee the area tells you just how dense this guy was, along with being, now an alleged murderer.
The only thing I can think of is if this guy stole the hat, so it wasn't his actual hat.
But if the hat was on his head, his DNA was going to be in the hat.
That's true.
Right?
I was just thinking it wasn't sentimental to him, so he just left it.
Oh, well, I get that. But, at that point, you got to be thinking like an episode of Forensic Files here.
Look, man, if you fire a gun in a club, I'm sure a few people may want to jump on you. So he was probably headed for the door in a hurry.
Well, exactly. I understand that. So he probably was like, man, I got to leave the hat. But that's why you don't wear the hat in the first place, maybe.
I mean, there you go.
Maybe that's the moral of the story. Don't wear the hats, okay? Unbelievable. But a good job by KCPD. The detectives tracking this guy down very quickly. $200,000 bond is the number right now. But, listen, you have 2 young women under the age of 30 who lost their lives. due to this shooting over the weekend. And as more comes out from the Kansas side of the state line on who exactly this guy was, his background, if there's anything else that we don't know yet about Dante M. Brooks, we'll bring it to you here on KCMO Talk Radio. We will talk to Melissa Johnson, the Jackson County prosecutor, about this case at 7:30. And we'll also ask her about the arson case from the warehouse last week and where exactly all that stands. Now, speaking of DNA, there was no DNA match on the glove found in the Nancy Guthrie case, according to police yesterday in Pima County. So they found this black glove, right? And they were all jazzed and thinking, hey, this is great. We might have the guy. We might have his DNA. Well, this glove produced no DNA matches. This was the glove that was found 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home, ended up being sent to Florida because that's where Pima County likes to send its DNA testing instead of the FBI's DNA testing right there in Arizona. But whatever, we'll let that slide for now. And now the Pima County sheriff is just kind of sitting there and saying, all right, we'll go back to it. He believes Nancy Guthrie was the victim of a targeted kidnapping and that she was being held somewhere close to her home in Tucson. Detectives say they have received 40,000 tips from the public, 39,000 of those coming from TMZ. Harvey Levin alone given 39,000 of those tips. I mean, I'm getting so sick of TMZ in this whole story. Nano said he did not see the lack of DNA as a setback in the case, adding DNA could still play a crucial role in solving the case. The glove was just one of several that were collected from various locations near the Guthrie's residence, though most turned out to have been discarded by people searching for the missing woman. So I'm not going to say this thing is back to square one, but for those people hoping that we were going to get a match with this glove, well, unfortunately, that did not happen yesterday, John.
Maybe we could help a little bit if we tidied up. What are you throwing gloves around and leaving them out here when you're doing the investigation? Shouldn't those just be, put right into a trash container?
I would agree. You've got a lot of problems in this case in terms of how it's been portrayed to the public. And don't forget, did you see this blue T-shirt that was out there at the front of the house the other day? So people were like, what is this blue T-shirt sitting on the rocks of Nancy Guthrie's home? And U.S. Border Patrol told Fox News that its elite Boar Star team used the blue shirt for a canine search at Nancy Guthrie's house the night that she disappeared, and again when the FBI returned to the property. Sheriff Chris Nanos previously said the bright blue shirt was used by a U.S. Border Patrol canine team. The shirt was left behind and then retrieved. Video showed it near blood drops on Nancy Guthrie's front step. So now you've got this blue shirt that people are hyper-focused on, trying to figure out what the intention was of that blue shirt. And it turns out it was part of a canine investigation, and the shirt was left behind. How is a piece of potential evidence just left behind on the rocks in the front of the house? I mean, who's running this thing here? Who's in charge of this operation? It's looking worse by the day. My goodness, it's going to make a heck of a Netflix documentary. That's what's going to happen.
I know you're tired of looking at Harvey, but it looks like TMZ is the one at least asking questions.
Well, I'll give him that much, to your point. I'll give him that much, John. You're right about that. Unbelievable. Coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Great to have you here on a busy Wednesday morning. Who was donating to a Kansas City area politician that turned up in the Epstein files? And what is that person doing about it here in Kansas City? We have those details for you next on KCMO. Johnson County Post had the story. Sharice Davids is sending campaign funds to charity after a past donor's name was found in the Epstein files. $4,250 from a guy named Dana Chasin. So I looked him up in the Epstein files, which anybody can find at justice.gov/Epstein. And it's hard to get he only shows up in one back and forth email exchange. And it's not clear to me who the email exchange is with. There's one person named Jean Christensen, but it's not clear who she's sending the email to because all that is redacted in the email. So this guy just shows up in one email, and it's not clear how close his relationship was. This guy, Dana Chasen's relationship was with Jeffrey Epstein. He was a longtime policy advisor to the Clintons, and then he worked with John Tester, who was a Democrat out of Montana up until last year. But it looks like this guy may have been on some prop planes that ended up going to Jeffrey Epstein's home. There's no really deep accusations in here in this email about this person, Dana Chasen. He was around a lot of people doing a lot of sketchy things, it appears, based on the email. But there's so many redactions in the email, I can't even get a read on who the email's to and from. There's one person, Jane Christensen, in here, but that's really all I've got. And it's, not the most heavily redacted thing you'll see in the Epstein files, but there's a lot of redactions in the email where this guy, Dana Chasen, is mentioned, who donated $4,000 to Sharice Davids. So I'm not sitting here telling you it's the biggest thing in the world. I'm glad that she appears to be doing the right thing, taking that money and donating it to charity. I'll give Sharice Davids absolutely credit for doing that, doing the right thing and saying, hey, maybe she didn't know anything. I'm sure she didn't. There's a lot of people on both sides of the aisle who dealt with a lot of people who were around Jeffrey Epstein, whether it's through personal or business relationships. And this comes out about Sharice Davids getting $4,000 from this guy, and she's like, hey, I'm going to give that to charity. Okay, that's great. I'm glad she's doing that. But I'm just thinking about how this situation would be different because only the Johnson County Post wrote about it. Imagine if this was Roger Marshall or Josh Hawley or Eric Schmidt or Jerry Moran, Derek Schmidt, Mark Alford. Could you imagine? The Kansas City Star would have 7 articles on it by 6 o'clock this morning, right? The Johnson County Post wrote one piece about it, and I give them credit for writing the piece. Good for them. But that's all you've got. And I'm not sitting here telling you it's the biggest deal in the world. I'm not. I'm admitting that it's not a lot of money. There's nothing obvious here that ties the person who gave Sharice Davids the donation to anything really heinous. And she said, hey, in an effort to get ahead of this, I'm going to donate the amount of money this guy gave me to charity. Okay, cool. Great. That's fantastic. But could you imagine if it was Josh Hawley or Eric Schmidt? The op-eds coming out of the Star, they would have every reporter on this thing trying to get the redactions of the emails removed. It would just be nonstop right now in some local Kansas City media outlets. So I'm not going to make this thing into anything more than it is, but I found it interesting when I saw the story in the Johnson County Post, and I thought to myself, man, there's really not a lot here, but if the shoe was on the other foot, there would be a lot here, okay? They would make sure they would find a way for there to be a lot here.
Connect the dots, Pete.
Yes, exactly right, John. Exactly right. Now, speaking of things going on the Kansas side of the state line, we still don't know whether or not Sharice Davids is going to end up running for Senate against Roger Marshall. My gut tells me 60-40 she will. And the reason I say that is because the 3rd District, if there's ever a time to try to pull it off in Kansas, they actually have this thing backfilled pretty well. They could fit anybody in to the 3rd District race on the Democrat side right now and win it. Republicans don't even have a candidate, for crying out loud. So if you want to take a stab at the U.S. Senate race, if you're Sharice Davids, you can do it knowing full well your spot in the House of Representatives is going to be backfilled, whether it's Mike Kelly, the Johnson County chairman, or anybody else. They'll backfill it just fine. So I think if I was just like gun to the head right now, I think that Sharice Davids is probably going to go ahead out there and do it. I do believe that. Now, in the governor's race in Kansas, that thing still doesn't have any clear direction to it right now. You've got a lot of people obviously interested. At the top, you have former Governor Jeff Collier. You have state Senate presidents Ty Masterson in there. You've got this businessman, Philip Sarnicki, who is from Johnson County and trying to run in that lane of independent business guy. The politicians have failed us. And I saw Sarnicki post this clip yesterday on social media, And I'm like, man, if he can harness that message, he's got a chance. If he can harness this message of this clip that he shared from the Kansas gubernatorial debate a couple of weeks back, he's got some runway here to work with.
Your property taxes are 50% higher per capita on average than every state in our region. Your income tax is the highest in the region. Your corporate tax is the second highest of every state in our region. Is it working? Is giving a $1 billion tax exemption to a foreign company with a 20-year property tax exemption, is that a good deal? Is that working? Promised 4,000 jobs. The last number I read, there were about 800 jobs. It is by giving away these tax exemptions, it is keeping your property taxes, your income taxes, the highest in the region, ladies and gentlemen. We are overtaxing, overspending, and overregulating the citizens of Kansas to death because our career politicians don't know how to grow an economy.
That's a very appealing pitch to hundreds of thousands of Kansans right now. In a Republican primary, and heck, maybe even in a general election. That's the best I've heard him sound. Now, we have not done wall-to-wall interviews on this race, and honestly, we probably won't until it's a lot closer. I'm not going to sit here in February and do gubernatorial interviews on a weekly basis. But if he can harness that message, if he can get higher name ID, and he's going to have to do that through various advertising channels, whether it's this station, digital media, TV, he's going to have to do a lot of it. But if he can get that name ID and he can build that message from north to south and east to west around Kansas, that's a pretty darn good one. And in a very crowded field where you may only need 25% to win the race, can that message from Philip Sarnecki get him 25% in a GOP primary? If he plays his cards right, I think he can. There's a Trumpian angle to what he's trying to do, but here's the problem. The problem is you've seen guys, mostly guys, but, men and women, you've seen a lot of them over the last several years try to use that Trump lane of like outsider, business person, all these guys have failed left and right, and I'm here to fix it. What never gets enough attention is that Trump's ability to play so well in front of the microphone and so well in front of the camera is something the rest of these people, whether it's on the local level, the state level, have not been able to do. Because Trump was in media for 40 years before he entered politics. Go back to the late 70s, the 80s in New York City. He was a staple in the media landscape. Spends years doing television with The Apprentice, and you can't teach that in a 6-month campaign for governor. Or if you're running for U.S. Senate in Ohio or anywhere, you can't teach that stuff. It takes time to develop that. And that's one thing about Sarnecki or anybody else who's trying to play in that lane. You've got to really figure out how you're going to hone that message, increase that charm, and get to the place where you own the room. The message is great, but then it's all those other things that are going to have to come together, including a massive statewide campaign where name ID is going to have to pick up. I mean, let's be honest. Because he's not in politics, no one really knows him. I mean, there are pockets of Johnson County that know him very well. But, I mean, outside of that, not a lot of people that really know him. But he made some excellent points, and he noted the Panasonic screw job. 20-year property tax exemption. Don't worry, thousands of jobs, 800 so far. And you did it in Johnson County. If Panasonic wanted to be in Garden City, maybe you justify some property tax exemptions. I'm not giving anybody a dime when they want to be in Johnson County, for crying out loud. Eerily similar, by the way, to the Chiefs deal. Eerily similar. So if he wants to play in that lane, I think he's got a chance if he just doubles down on that message all over the state of Kansas. We'll see. It's going to start picking up here in the spring. I got a letter here from an area school district they sent to the families tied to what's going on with ICE in the Kansas City area. I'll share that with you coming up here in a couple of minutes on KCMO Talk Radio. We do know, and we found out yesterday after the news broke, it was this time yesterday that Police Chief Stacey Graves said, we have somebody in custody in Kansas City tied to the nightclub shooting 2 days ago. And then it was reported later in the day yesterday that Dante M. Brooks, who already had a pretty extensive criminal history in Kansas, was the individual taken into custody and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. So good news there. Melissa Johnson, the Jackson County prosecutor, was on the show earlier. A lot of love from you guys on Melissa Johnson. Now, you're comparing her to Jean Peters Baker, who could not have been a worse prosecutor if she tried. But still, even with that being the case, Melissa Johnson's absolutely got this Jackson County prosecutor's office going in the right direction. She also announced on the arson investigation into the lady who tried to light the warehouse on fire in South Kansas City last week, the place that was potentially going to be an ICE detention facility. She's got nothing to do with that. That is being handled by the feds. U.S. Attorney's Office is taking that case. And I asked her because I wanted to know, I said, hey, could you have stopped them? Like if she wanted to play politics, could she have said, no, we got it. We're going to take care of it. We're going to send whatever political message we want to send. She could have fought them on it, and she didn't. She said, fine, you take it. Paul's in Kansas City. Paul, good morning. You're on KCMO.
Hey, Pete, I'm going to double tap. I'll hit Bruce Springsteen, but the prosecutor, great interview. I really am impressed with her, what she's doing. Now I understand that the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Missouri has got the case. That's why they're silent. So good for her in that. But on Bruce Springsteen, Pete, this is why there should be term limits for old musicians. And I can see white liberal women in the audience rocking out the Born in the USA in their Handmaid's Tale uniform.
Yeah, that'd be quite a scene.
Great interview, Pete. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Listen, as long as someone's willing to buy tickets, musicians should go till they're dropping on stage. All right. That's my takeaway. But I think Paul was being tongue-in-cheek there anyway. So in Olathe, an email was sent out last night. A couple of folks sent this over to me from the Olathe Board of Education. And the letter reads as follows. It came in last night.
I got this email.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Here's the email. Olathe Public Schools community. Over the past few weeks, we've heard from students, parents, staff, and community members with concerns related to current events involving immigration and federal agencies. Many have raised questions about the role of school districts in these matters. By the way, there's 28,000 people in the Olathe schools right now. 28,000 kids. How many do you think they've actually heard from? Do you think they've been fielding calls from thousands of parents? I mean, if each kid has give or take 2 parents, I know that's not the case for everybody, but if each kid has give or take 2 parents, there's 56,000 parents who have children in the Olathe public schools. Well, never mind. I guess not, because kids would have siblings and things like that. Whatever. You've got tens of thousands of parents in Olathe who have kids in the public schools. You really think that they've been fielding thousands of phone calls over this? Really? Like, this email was totally unnecessary. It's virtue signaling from the Olathe Board of Education. That's what this is. It's an eye roller. They write here, many have raised questions about the role of school districts in these matters. Please know that as a Board of Education and public school district, we are unwavering in our commitment to fostering a welcoming and inclusive environment for all students. We educate every student in accordance with federal law and with the foundation of our notice of non-discrimination. The kids can barely read and write. We educate every student in accordance with federal law and the foundation of our notice of non-discrimination. In our Olathe public schools, our primary mission is to educate every student in a safe, inclusive, and supportive learning environment. When we say all students, we truly mean every child who walks through our doors, regardless of their background, ability, or circumstance. This is all fine, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just a bunch of nice words put together in an email. I mean, what are the concerns that people have, right? They're not even addressing anything. They're just saying, our job is to teach the kids who show up in the classroom. Well, okay, yeah. I mean, teachers are not in the business of reporting someone who may have parents who are here illegally or something like that. I mean, how would they even know that? How would a teacher in a classroom trying to get a handle on 15 to 20 kids have any idea about a kid potentially or their parents not having legal status? No one would expect that out of a teacher. I don't, even as someone who supports the immigration policies of the administration, I don't want teachers involved in any of this. And there's nothing to suggest that they would be anyway. So what's the point of the letter? I still can't figure it out outside of virtue signaling to a small subset of parents in all this. That's what it feels like. The letter goes on to note, public education in the United States is built on the foundational principle that public schools serve all students. Okay, I get it. Nice. We are proud to uphold that responsibility each day and remain steadfast in our dedication to ensuring every student is empowered to succeed and that their perspective is valued. We have shared this with our parents and staff members previously. We want to be clear that our practices have not changed. It's a privilege to be entrusted with your child's education and care, their safety, growth, and achievement guide every decision that we make. If you have any questions, reach out. Why send the letter? What's the point of that? Outside of virtue signaling. Like, regardless of how you feel about the issue, tell me the point of that letter, because I learned absolutely nothing from it, John.
Well, it's an amazing grasp of the obvious.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
That's all it is. An amazing grasp of the obvious. I can't figure out why else you would send something like this.
I think I got the same email last year, just a slight tweak maybe, but
really?
It was very similar, yeah.
So before all this was really a part of the daily conversation in this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like, we're not going to let anybody in the building, but they don't let anybody in the building anyway without ID, so it's kind of all the same stuff.
Stating the obvious.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would hope that you would not let anybody in the building to begin with. I mean, what do they think? That, like, they've conjured up this idea in their minds that somehow ICE is going to be banging on school windows looking for like a little Jose or something, and that's not happening. And by the way, nor should it happen. That would be completely out of control for any federal agency to do that. But when you see people on the street corner in Lenexa with signs that read ICE murders moms, well, you can understand why those people would then come to this conclusion that ICE is going to show up at a middle school in Olathe and start ripping kids out of the classroom. But you don't cater yourself, if you're a Board of Education or anybody with any kind of power at a local level, you don't cater your decisions to the fringe. On either side, by the way. On either side. I tell this to people on the right all the time. I'm sorry. You don't cater things to the 5% on the left or the right. That's insanity, John. And that's what the Board of Education in Olathe just did.
We should start the show with the Eye in the Sky Alan Parsons theme.
Yeah.
And then have our 5-minute declaration of the obvious. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning, a 4-hour program, a collaborative effort of local politicians and national, right? We're on for 4 hours, and it's an honor to serve you. We have a phone number that you can use and a text line to reach out. If you have any questions, just get on with the show.
Do your show.
Just do the job.
Do the job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Exactly. We don't need to state the obvious, okay? And if there's people who don't understand the obvious, well, you don't cater to them. You do not cater to the people who can't grasp the obvious, whether it's this show, as John just noted, or it's the school board in Olathe.
Operating at 95.7 megahertz at 100,000 watts on an antenna of 1,000.
Oh, my gosh.
Nobody cares.
You just do the job, man. That's it. You do the job. My goodness. So I'm sure that the Board of Education is patting itself on the back this morning. I'm sure they have a sore arm and a sore shoulder after all the back patting they did before sending out this email last night.
It's kind of like a pop country song. There were probably 7 people that wrote that, and they all got together and hashed it out. Oh, I don't like that word.
And ran it through ChatGPT as well, Oh, my gosh. Patrick Tuohy is going to be here at the bottom of the hour on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Coming up next, there's a bill in Missouri around the Chiefs, and it's so petty. It's so low. It's so below Missouri, and I hope it goes absolutely nowhere. I'll share it with you next on KCMO. All right, so not all, but some Missouri lawmakers are either begging for attention or want us to call them big crybabies. This comes from Missouri Net yesterday. Missouri lawmaker wants to end Kansas City Chiefs license plates as team prepares to move to Kansas. Missourians may not be able to order Kansas City Chiefs license plates much longer under a new proposal moving through the legislature. Missouri House Speaker Pro Tem Chad Perkins out of Bowling Green told Missouri Net that he filed the bill after the Chiefs announced their plans to move to Kansas. Perkins said license plates belong to the state of Missouri and said in a statement here, quote, "If I've given you everything you ask and treated you like a little princess and you leave anyway, then maybe I need to take a different tactic. But if you're going to leave and go to Kansas," he says here, "then why are we giving out license plates for a business that's based in Kansas?"
There's something wrong with them.
Dude, get over yourself. It's a license plate. I'll show them. Can't get a Chiefs license plate around here anymore. I'm going to really stick it to them. My gosh, man, this is the best you can do? I mean, yeah, you've treated them like a princess, but guess what? Someone came away with a better deal. And as Scott Fitzpatrick said, the Missouri State Auditor, on this show on Monday morning, Missourians should be doing cartwheels. Two things, in my estimation, can be true at the same time. Missourians should be grateful that Kansas got totally fleeced on this deal because they still get all the benefits of having the Chiefs in the Metro without footing any of the bill anymore. But still, you can be upset and emotional about the fact that if you love Arrowhead Stadium, you love having the Chiefs in Missouri, you're upset about that. I get it. Like, I totally understand that. I'm sympathetic to that. So both of those feelings, I understand, can be true at the same time. Emotional and upset because of, you know, what that stadium and what that location means. And yes, there's still the Missouri-Kansas thing. But also when you step back logistically and monetarily and you say, wait, we don't have to foot any of the bill anymore. Okay. And they're still like 20 minutes down the road. That's a pretty good deal. And by the way, it's going to hurt Kansas in many ways. So there's the emotional side versus the pragmatic side. And both those things, I don't think it's an either or. I think you can have all of those emotions and all of those feelings at the same time. But then filing bills like this, you just look like a chump.
I still haven't gotten over the municipal stadium thing yet, so. I'm just about to process that. Now I'm going to take on this.
Well, another 30 years should do you fine there, John. This guy, Chad Perkins, Speaker Pro Tem in Missouri, he said he wants to take his idea one step further. He says here, Arrowhead Stadium's not owned by the Chiefs. It's owned by the Jackson County Sports Authority. If I were the Jackson County Sports Authority, I'd tell them to get out right now. Just get your stuff and get out now. Go play football at a high school field in Overland Park. I don't care. Get out. And you can sue me and we can go to court. And I think a Missouri jury might just agree with me right now, right? How do these people end up in politics? We are not sending our best. That's my other conclusion.
It's like the
here.
Animal House speech, right? They're getting hauled before the student body, you know. And I, for one, will not stand by while you badmouth America.
Yeah, yes. I mean, we do not have the cream of the crop around here. And I don't mean this just in Kansas and Missouri, because I've ripped the Kansas guys and gals plenty as well. I just mean across the board. Who's drawn to these roles in 2026? I really don't think it's the best. These are not people who are like, hey, for the most part. Now, there's many of these people who I know well who are there for the right reasons. But then you get jokers like this, and it's like, okay, I understand why the situation is so screwed up around here. I mean, you cannot kick the Chiefs out of Arrowhead. There's this thing called a contract. I've talked to people in the Jackson County Sports Authority. They just laugh at the whole idea. Okay? I mean, it's just crazy.
They don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
It's just,
Docs Clark Hunt.
Yeah.
As if you didn't know what he looked like and where he was at.
Oh, my goodness, guys. First off, there still is like a 0.2% chance that the whole thing in Kansas collapses. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it's like a 0.2% chance that the whole thing falls apart, right? Because if Wells Fargo and Bank of America come back and they're like, these bonds are junk, then you got a problem on your hands. Now, I don't think it's going to happen because of the size and scope of the Scar Bond District. That's 300 square miles. That's why they made it so big, so that when Bank of America and Wells Fargo analyze the bond, which is happening right now, and there should be some answer on that in the next 12 months, it will be worth something. But there's always that possibility that the banks analyze this deal and say, you know, if you want to take a chance on this, do what you want, but this thing's kind of garbage.
Right, Jim Carrey, there's chances 1 in a million, so you're saying there's a chance.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on here. So just accept it. Take the Scott Fitzpatrick approach and move on instead of worrying about bills to try to kick the Chiefs out of Arrowhead and send them to, I don't know, Blue Valley West for jeez.
ODAC's open every other weekend.
Oh, my
Shawnee
goodness.
Mission South and Shawnee Mission North have the district stadiums.
That would be I'm going to go off on this real quick, but I've often thought that college football should try to find unique ways to play at cool high school fields. I think that would be great. In Texas, what about like K-State playing a game at like Smith Center High School? Instead of worrying about playing games in Ireland where the quarterback's dad and brother end up brawling after the game. I mean, why not find cool high school venues, kind of like the Field of Dreams deal with Major League Baseball? I would try to find unique settings like that where you're playing in a field, not playing in Ireland and trying to copy the NFL.
Right, Friday Night Lights, they show the stadium in Odessa, Midland there. I'm like, what?
Yes.
That's high school?
That, like Texas Tech playing a game at Odessa, like a non-conference game or something. I would love to see that for college football. But, I don't think the Chiefs are going out anywhere on the Kansas side anytime soon. Arrowhead's going to be there till 2031. And then they got to figure out what to do with it after the fact. Patrick Mahomes did restructure his data center. Patrick Mahomes restructuring the deal this morning. That came from Adam Schefter last hour. So Adam Schefter reporting that the cap hit for Patrick Mahomes will go from $78 million to $34 million for the upcoming season. That creates $43.5 million in salary cap space for the Chiefs this offseason. So that is a big deal. A big deal, and it buys the Chiefs what they need, which is salary cap space going into the offseason. And I don't know how you feel, but keep me away from Tyreek Hill. 31-year-old knucklehead off a knee injury. I'll pass. It's the last resort in the last segment. Did I get that right, Mark? Did I do that right? All right. I'm proud of myself. As we wrap up the show here on KCMO, it's funny because I literally had this conversation during the Super Bowl with Kate and the girls. Remember I made those wings? First time I've done wings. I was very proud of how those wings came out. Got them over at Hy-Vee. Turned out great. And the girls always see the Buffalo Wild Wings commercials on TV. They love that commercial where, like, the Buffalo's got the wings on and the whole thing, right? So they're always asking about it. And after they had the wings at the Super Bowl, they were like, hey, we should go to that Buffalo Wild Wings place. And then Kate says, yeah, and they even have boneless wings. And I'm like, no, those are just chicken nuggets. That's what those are. They're just chicken nuggets and sauce. I mean, you can enjoy them. I'm not saying you can't have them, but let's be clear. Those are not wings. They're just chicken nuggets, right? So this story just broke this morning, NBC News. Are boneless wings any different from chicken nuggets? A federal judge weighed in yesterday in a lawsuit against Buffalo Wild Wings. In a 10-page ruling, U.S. District Judge John Tharp in Illinois said the sports bar franchise can continue its popular menu item called boneless wings, even though they are essentially chicken nuggets. So a wing lover by the name of Eamon Halliman filed a lawsuit in March of 23 claiming violations of the Illinois Consumer Fraud Act over Buffalo Wild Wings, calling them boneless wings instead of chicken nuggets. Tharp decided yesterday there was not enough meat on the bones of his argument. That's from NBC News.
Boom.
Nice job there. Well done. So Tharp wrote that boneless wings are not a niche product for which a consumer would need to do extensive research to figure out the truth. Instead, boneless wings is a common term that has existed for over 2 decades. So Buffalo Wild Wings can continue to call chicken nuggets boneless wings, but they are chicken nuggets, and the judge admitted as much yesterday. But the term can continue to be used.
We're playing loose and fast with the word chicken here, too. Maybe.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
In my experience, I'm noting tougher chew on my wings here recently, so I'm not sure what we've got there.
I have not been to one in a long time.
There's also no buffalo in the wings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What about that? Right? Good call, Mark.
Mark, you a Buffalo Wild Wings guy with all the sports that you go out and watch?
I used to go there quite a bit back when I was in college and maybe right after college, but it's been a little while.
All right. It's been a minute for you.
Well, I get there maybe once a month, every 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh,
we
really?
rotate through our Saturday night dinner crowd there.
Okay, so
we
what's
like
on
to
your
go
list?
to places that'll seat 10 plus. We'll call ahead, so that's one place where you can get a large group in.
What
obviously.
is your favorite style of wing?
I'd get wings bone in.
Okay,
and
me
then
too.
I do not get anything on them.
Just dry?
They call them naked, so that's sexy.
Okay.
No, the stuff gets too sticky on my hands. It's gotten so thick over the years. I don't prefer the way they coat them, but I don't mind eating the wings.
Okay.
I'll use a little salt, ketchup, something.
Okay. All right. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
All right. You got a preference there, Mark?
I don't have too much of a preference. I will do the chicken nuggets, though.
Okay, you will. You will. All right.
like
goes bone.
All right. Well, as long as you know what they are, it's fine. It's all good. I like the honey barbecue. I'll go with they got an Asian one on there sometimes I'll try out, but it's been a while for me.
Asian Zing was a good one.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Wearing that one, I do.
All right, let's go
But I look good in
to
it.
Colbert last night. Stephen Colbert had on Caitlin Collins of CNN. And I want to play a clip from Caitlin Collins where, she talks about equal time. That's been a thing the last couple of days because Stephen Colbert had on this U.S. Senate candidate down in Texas, and there was a temporary push to say, hey, if you're going to have on this guy running in a Democratic primary against Jasmine Crockett, well, you got to have her on too. And Stephen Colbert didn't want to do it. So this led to this conversation and this comment last night from Caitlin Collins.
And I think it's actually a really slippery slope because I think that you've seen some people on the right cheering this and saying, well, that's what we want Brendan Carr to do. I think that they don't want a Democratic administration saying that right-wing talk radio must give equal time to Democrats or to see that moment. And so for me personally on our show, I have Democrats and Republicans on. I want to know what everyone's saying. I want my viewers to know what the debate is that's in Washington. I don't think anyone wants the federal government telling people who they should book on their show and who the guests should be on their show.
So I agree with her premise. I don't think that's the government's job, especially with so many different media outlets now and media platforms now. For the government to have any role in any of this and just picking and choosing what platforms like radio and TV they're going to have a heavy hand with while not doing anything about podcasts or social media shows, I don't think that's the role of government in 2026. That may have had its purpose 60 years ago. That's not the case anymore. But I disagree with Caitlin Collins, too. I would love it if Sharice Davids was begging to come on this show. I have Quentin Lucas on this show every single week. I've had Laura Kelly on the show a couple of times, but it's been a few years. I should reach out to her again. She's got nothing to lose at this point. She's a lame duck. She's done it in a year. Why not? I would love it if more Democrats wanted to come on the show. Listen, I give them a shot. I think I'd be as fair as I can be while also being mildly tough when appropriate. I'd pick and choose my spots like I do with Lucas. But I think it'd be good for them and good for the audience.
Well, you have Manny Abarca on.
Yeah, that's
We've
right.
had Emmanuel Cleaver on. We've had Laura Kelly on. We used to run a liner that said, if you haven't heard them on our show, it's because they haven't responded to our invitation.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about
Pretty
that.
much.
Yes.
They're welcome here, and people take advantage of it. Manny Abarca does. He comes on about every time he's invited.
I mean, Melissa Johnson was on this morning.
Melissa Johnson, the Democrat.
Jackson County prosecutor. I mean, she was not my preferred pick in that race, but you know what? She's never said no to me. She comes on. She talks about the issues. So what Caitlin Collins really did there is, I think, admit that Democrats are less likely to want to go talk to Republicans than the other way around. It's why when Mark Alford told me 2 days ago on the show, hey, I'm going on CNN, and he's like, some people are mad at me for going on CNN. No, we want people like Mark Alford to go on CNN and make the case. If you're confident in the facts and what you believe, you should want to talk about it anywhere at any time in any place. So, Caitlin Collins basically admitted that one side does not really want to talk to the other. And she also admitted that basically Colbert's show is just like a DNC talk radio show. That's the other admission there. And with that, we're out of time. Keatsman Uncanceled is coming up next right here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM, and stream us always at kcmotalkradio.com.